Several informal settlements in the Western Cape were hit by fires on Christmas night. Affected areas include the Imizamo Yethu informal settlement in Cape Town, while a second fire was reported in eMbekweni in the Cape Winelands. Ziniko Mhlaba is tracking these latest developments and joins us now. Ziniko, not that there is ever a good time for a fire to catch a light and cause this sort of a tragedy, but it obviously was not the best time for these families on Christmas Day.
Certainly, Hugo, there can never be a worse time than the Christmas night where, you lose your home and all your personal belongings. And unfortunately, that's what the people of Imizamo Yethu here in Hot Bay, one of the posh suburbs of the city of Cape Town. So this is an incident that we understand to have happened at about midnight yesterday, but people were still out and about on the streets. That's why they were able to save each and every individual who has a home in these particular areas. So these are the visuals of the damage that has been left by this particular fire. And what's different, with this particular fire, Hugo, if we compare it to some of the fires that we've been covering, especially in the Cape Winelands area, eMbekweni to be specific, it was related to and worsened by the weather conditions. But we understand that this one, there might be some underhand that might have caused this fire, but that's not official yet. But some of the residents do believe that someone might have started the fire deliberately because there had been attempts before. However, those attempts were not successful. So this is the situation that you see here. But also what we understand to be the case, about 40 of these informal dwellings were burnt down yesterday, affecting over about 160 families or individuals in general. But to give us more insights on this particular incident and how it has affected people who are living here, I'm joined by Mama Usondela Mama Sangola Kakuhle. Mama ngicela usixelele manje into kubana kwenzeke into nokuqala ngokwento elibonileyo njengabahlali nokubana wena ke ngoku nabanye umama apha ndimoshakele kangakanani.
Tatam yonke lento yenzekileyo ukuthi ivele yenzeka isibhubhubhu sento. Umlilo uqale around 12 o'clock ebusuku, midnight. Xa sipreparation into basiyolala. Sibe khona ikhona ususpect into yoba ukhona umuntu ebefuna utshisa komnye womizi apha next door kwakwam 2 days before. Sikelakhi simane sibona sicime. Ndiyenzile into yoba ndikhe ndiripoti kwalapha ekuhlaleni sinedrop yokuhlala. Saripota phaya bakukho into enje abahlali bathi hey masingalali phezulu asilelanga ke ngokusilindeyo lento but ivele yenzeka because oko silindile ngoba siyazi ba lo muntu umane ebuye ezotshisa uyintoni lingaka. Ndimbizile umelwane wami ndabuza ba ukhona umuntu onangxaki naye na wathi umelwane wami akho kwamuntu anangxaki naye. Isasimangalisile ke ngonalonto ngoba ngoku njebe esenza lanto yotshisa umuntu akatshisa la muntu yedwa utshise kunye nabanye abantu. Ndingomnye wabo bantu batshelweyo diluze yonke into. What I save is handbag yam ibine documents ezikhoyo phaya zizoqha into endizisavileyo zonke ibelongings zam zichile endlini ndiphume nje ngoba nindibona ba ndilolu hlobo ndilulo akho nto ndikhukhuphle endlini abe umkhukhu ukhosta imali eninzi besisakusuka kumlilo ukhona umlilo busanda bakhona apha ka2017 lamatyotyombe sazivusela ngokwethu ngoku yenye ke into ezaphinda ngokuthi asiyaba sawuthini nango baloku ngoku asinceda na ngematerial. City of Cape Town akasasiniki imaterial. Ngoku kufuneka ngophinde sicikide siphinde sithini. Sisando spend imali apha iChristmas for abantwana.
Mama makhe sithethe ngale ndawo nokukhuseleka kwayo. Ngoba ngathi kusentabeni apha. Kuyintoni ibangela abantu bahlale kwendawo enje? Nikhe nazama mhlawumbe ukuthetha nomasipala into kubana nisuke kule ndawo upreventa eminye imelelo ungaphinde nifumane niselapha.
Kudala tata sithetha besifinyelwa ngamanzi earlier this year. Sangelwa ngamanzi ezindlini kubantu basihleli apha nje siphezulu kopipe wamanzi. Usithi ebekulo process ba ezasimove asise kwenye indawo. Xa sifika phaya le ndawo azasimove asise kuyo yindawo encinci sibe thina sine family families sinabantwana abaninzi. Fumanise ba ukusa ku3/6. Bafithi uzawuhlala njani endaweni enjalo. Kudala sireporta ngoko situation ngoba eyona nto ibisixakile apha kule ndawo sihlala kwisihleli phezulu kwepipe wamanzi. And apha nje basihleli nje apha eMzantsi Afrika thina abantu bamnyama into enzekayo. Ubonakala into ba alukho uphuhliso. Alukho uphuhliso. Imihlaba mininzi apha bakungayenzeka uphuhliso. Sihleli kabuhlungu 20 years ndihlala apha akho uphuhliso.
Ngoke mama abantu boncedo lokuqala especially abe-disaster bakhe beza bazosabela konto ukuba mhlawumbi umonakalo ungakanani zintoni nisidinga ngokukhawuleza.
Basaphithizela ngoku asiyazi uba kumane kuphathwa amaphepha asiyazi uba kwenziwa ntoni na but akukho mntu uzileyo kum njengoba wena ubhuti ukwazile uba undibize because ukwazile undibize wena uba wabuza uba kwenzeke ntoni akukho mntu kum uzileyo andibuza uba kwenzeka ntoni na ndisalindile ke inoba ke into yoba kusekusasa ibindibe yiholideyi kodwa ke befaba kanti ngabantu bokuqala.
Mama, siyabulela khona mama ngexesha lakho. Inkosi mama. Hugo, that's a mother there who has been living on this particular piece of land for over 20 years. Actually, she was telling me, before we went on air, that, a 21-year-old child of hers was born in this particular area and now she has gone on to be an adult, meaning that they've been here for some time. But if you just look at the landscape itself, Hugo, this is a downhill literally, and you can see that whatever happens in this particular area, it's going to be very difficult even for emergency services to come through with their fire engines to access this particular area. And that is why you can see that all these particular informal dwellers were burnt to ashes. You can see those some residents trying to pick up the pieces to salvage whatever they can salvage. So this is the situation, and she's talking about a pipeline that these particular informal settlements are built on. There was a pipe that was burst on the other side, just on the main road. I'm not sure if you can see those visuals. So that's a pipe that has been burst. So it's water issues, it's housing issues that is really, making the lives of these individuals to be very vulnerable to disasters. But also, we have seen now some disaster management officials, such as that gentleman, and the lady there in blue. So they've been collecting data from the individuals, trying to find out how many people have been affected, how many structures were back down as well. But this is what they are doing right now. They've just been collecting data. So upon receiving this data, I guess the city of Cape Town will then be able to see how it can better respond, especially on the agent basis, because there are people who are having small children. I saw a lady who was carrying a 6-month-old baby saying that all the food of that child or of the child and clothing has been burnt down. So she does not know what that child is going to eat throughout the day. So these are some of the challenges and some of the fires that is taking place. And of course, also got a report from an aid organization, Gift of the Givers, that, the area we went to last week, eMbekweni in Paarl, also, experienced its own fire incident overnight yesterday. And that's what we'll also need to go and check on later on in the day. But for now, Hugo, is back to you as we await the officials, but also community leaders to give us more insights in terms of what are the conversations that are taking place in response to this, especially when it comes to the city and the residents themselves.
Ziniko, not so quickly, couple of issues we'd certainly like to get your opinion on or some insight into. Reconstruction, what are the families thinking? We obviously seeing in the pictures on the screen at the moment one individual carrying some of those zinc sheets. Are they looking to rebuild in the very same area from what they're able to salvage? You speak of disaster management being in the area. Have you had a chance to speak to disaster management? How quickly are they likely to act? We do know that Cape Town is known for inclement weather. So these individuals, the 160 people that have been affected from the numbers you've given us, are obviously looking to get some form of shelter. You've spoken of a 6-month-old baby. I'd imagine that food that may have been provisioned for that little toddler has been lost. Is there any assistance that's coming immediately to these people? And do we expect to see Gift of the Givers in the vicinity anytime soon?
Yes, actually the officials from the Gift of the Givers were here on the ground earlier on, but they are not obviously, have the powers to speak to us, but the people who are able to engage with us as members of the media, they are the ones who alerted us about this particular incident, saying that they are currently responding to these fires. So we will speak to one official who's still making his way from the fire in eMbekweni, which he was attending to come to us this side. So we'll have more details in terms of how the aid organizations are planning to respond to this particular issue. On the issue of trying or whether they are likely to rebuild on the very same land, that is very likely at this point, because Umami Bestetena Hugo earlier on did mention that, there was a fire in 2017 in the very same place, and there were promises that were made by the city in terms of trying to assist them with building materials so that they could rebuild their structures, and that never happened, and they ended up now having to build their own structures on their own, finding ways in terms of purchasing these zinc materials and the woods that they use to rebuild. So definitely it's likely that they're going to be rebuilding the very same issue, and considering the fact that, she was saying that they are still in conversations with the water affairs in the province in terms of trying to relocate them, because they are literally building on a pipeline. So that's the issue. And if you look at the numbers, Hugo, because I tried to make sense of the numbers, these are the numbers I was given by one of those two officials, but they are still counting, they're still registering people. So they were saying that at that particular time, they were looking at about 160 people who had come forward to them to say, I was affected, these are my details. So they're still continuing with that. So I understand then from the city of Cape Town, they will use that data then to see what is it that is urgently and primarily needed by the individuals who are residing here. So they will use the data that is currently being collected by their ground forces on the ground. And we understand that the disaster management team leadership will then be able to go through the data and be able to give us a comprehensive report on an update and a way forward in terms of how the city is going to go forward there. The issue that I'm not clear on, though, Hugo, is the fact that between now and the next 5 hours or so, it seems as if the people who are able to get to the scene as soon as possible are those 8 organizations, such as the Gift of the Givers. Obviously, the scene has just been is trying to cool down after the emergency medical services. Emergency fire department was here to quell the fire. So I understand that the investigators will only come later on once this particular fire scene has cooled down. Then that's when they will be able to inspect and try to investigate, the cause of the fire. Because the lady did say that there have been several attempts, but that can only be confirmed officially after the investigations by the city and the fire department.
Ziniko Mhlaba, appreciate your time speaking to us from Cape Town on the sidelines of that fire earlier on that unfortunately burnt a number of shacks. 160 people impacted, amongst those several families, including those that have a 6-month-old baby. And the conversation now is around disaster management and how quickly they can come in to assist these families.